Welcome to The Eyes of Indigo with your infinitely curious hosts, Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Our show is broadcast live at 9:30 p.m. Wednesdays. Socio-spiritual topics are laced with humor as we discuss weird stuff in a rational way. Learn more about us in our first episode, The Prequel. Shows are recorded and available on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, iTunes, and other aggregators. A keyword searchable index is at iriscarter.com/EOI directory. Share ideas and comments in the program chat or by email. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share our show. Let us know you're here by typing your hello in the comments because we are thrilled to welcome you as we begin another adventure right now.
And here we are. Hello.
Happy day after July 4th, Independence Day.
Yay.
Flag. There you go. There, a little bit there.
Yes, you do.
Our brother's favorite shirt that I inherited, John Paul Jones. I have not yet begun to fight.
That
was my favorite. Yeah, that was my brother's favorite quote. Things make you go, if you happen to know the backstory on my brother. I have not yet begun to fight while he was here.
Yeah.
So, we're not here to talk about that today. Guys, hi. Welcome to the show, Eyes of Indigo. My name is Margot. Beside me is Iris.
Yay, I'll put our names up here just to...
There you go, just to keep us clear and distinct. Welcome to everyone that is a regular visitor to the show. And if you're new to the channel, hi, you're very welcome. We also want to send a hello to the future listeners that are forthcoming on the audio recorded versions of this in the future later on. Apparently, a lot of people do listen to the show afterwards. People who are not night owls or on the go. They listen in the car and whatnot while they exercise.
I did get some feedback. A mutual friend of ours, Amy, was telling me the other day, she was talking about, I was talking to her about one of our shows, and she said, yeah, I watched that one. And I said, oh, you did? You watch it? And she's like, well, of course I watch it. And I said, well, she said, you don't know? And I said, no. And so I said, it'd be worth explaining because she assumed we could see who's watching. And that's why we ask everybody to comment, is because we're on a website that then broadcasts to YouTube and broadcasts to Facebook. The comments that are made on Facebook and are made on YouTube come back to the site that we're on so that we can see the comments, but we can't see the audience. We don't know who's out there unless you
just watching.
Yeah.
Until you comment. Yeah.
Right. So that's how that works. And so she just assumed, she said, yeah, there's a little button she hits and she can see everybody that's watching. And I said, we don't have that benefit. So we just need to trust that people will comment, and that's how we know that you're there. So yes, people, tell us if you're watching. That's why we put that up there in the front.
Say hi, say hello, say aloha, say namaste, say what the hell.
You so crazy.
Bats are back on the air.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely for sure, typey type. Especially as we go through the show, feel free to comment or ask questions. If we say a word or a phrase or express an idea that you're like, wait, what's that about? Get in there, type it. Hi, Mike. Mike is our first Mouseketeer on the show.
Yes, M is for Mouseketeer.
We appreciate you.
And he's responding from she is Cheryl.
Oh, that's Cheryl. That's Cheryl ghosting as Mike. Yep.
Okay.
I forgot.
So Cheryl's yeah.
Hey Cheryl. So yeah, feel free to say hi and let us know you're here if you feel like it. And we appreciate that. And again, of course, throw out questions and comments all through the hour. This is live. Take advantage of it. So for tonight, we are talking about a publicly known concept that has a rabbit hole shadier side. Iris, where are we going tonight?
It is Con-CERN-ing Timelines, the Organization for Nuclear Research, and that turns into CERN because when you put it in French. Or whatever language, yeah, it's like the
I'm going to explain all that. The Council of European for Research Nuclear. Yeah.
Yeah, is what it comes out to. But anyway,
all in French words. Yeah.
It's the world's largest centers for scientific research and uses the Hadron Collider and, quote, helps uncover what the universe is made of and how it works, end quote. In the meantime, what has been uncovered about this organization and its work? So that's what we're looking at, some of the things that have been floating around. And hello, Rosemarie.
You know, for such a profoundly complicated, complex task as the Hadron Collider has, and all the hundreds and hundreds of goals and intentions that it has, that statement that they put out summarizing how the universe works and that's way oversimplifying and literally, dare I say, deception by omission. Yeah, they're leaving out a whole bunch that they don't want though. Hi, we have the most complex and profound and most advanced machine in the world, and we're just trying to figure out how we got here. Bye. Yeah. Seriously?
Hey, Deborah.
Hi, Deborah. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the road that we're going to go down. And apparently we're one of thousands and thousands, or two of thousands and thousands of people who have an additional understanding about what else CERN and the Hadron Collider has done and can do. So, yes. Iris, you started us off, which was really cool, with its name, CERN. It's based on a bunch of French stuff you guys found. We covered all that, but it was founded in 1952. It was started to be active in 1954. What is CERN? CERN is translated as 27 kilometers, which is 17 miles, of a giant ring, 100 meters down under the earth. It's not on the surface. Up in Geneva, Switzerland, which is north of Europe. And it's a 17-mile ring of superconducting magnets with several accelerating structures. They don't say what that is. Accelerating structures to boost the energy of the particles that they have shooting through this ring. And essentially what they do is they beam two high energy particle beams to travel as close as possible to the speed of light until they collide. The beams are in opposite directions in separate beam tubes inside of an ultra high vacuum that is kept so cold. I'm looking at my notes. Got lots of them. It is around negative 271 degrees Celsius, which supposedly is colder than outer space, deep space. One of the coldest known points, put it that way, known points in our solar system at the moment, in the time being, I should say. And their budget to keep it up is extremely expensive. In 2016, it was 1.1 billion euros. In 2016, which was
translates to more dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, you're pushing you're pushing half the world's economy in some ways now. But anyway, the biggest thing that they try to sell us, that you hear a lot about, is the Higgs particle and the Higgs boson particles, and the boson Higgs field is a better way to say it, and the Higgs boson particle is a result of it. In other words, when they hit and pop out, Iris, a special type of particle pops out, and what is that called?
It's the nuclear particle?
Yeah.
Is that the one you're talking about?
That has a nickname to it now.
Oh, the God particle.
Yeah.
No. Is that the one? Yeah.
Yep. And what was the original name of the God particle? Because it was so rare, it was like 1 in 10 billion to find it.
I don't remember. I'm not sure what
The
you're
goddamn
alluding to.
particle.
Oh, that.
The
Yeah, that
goddamn
was in an article.
Yeah, just to be diplomatic, they shortened it to the God particle because it was so hard to find. It was odds of 1 in 10 billion, excuse me. And it has to do with kaons and gravitons. They're using, here's where it starts getting dicey. They're trying to do, they are doing research with dark matter, which is what, like 90+% of what the universe is made of. And we don't know what it is in a public sense. However, privately we do. But in a public sense, it's not known widely. So we're looking at a lot of dicey variables potentially here. Iris, for starters, in this list of background notes, I found it very interesting. The Indian deity Shiva, the destroyer, has a statue at CERN. And generically, they say because it was a gift from the Indian scientists, because it's it's supposed to be a multinational cooperative effort, not just Swiss and Switzerland scientists.
Yeah.
Shiva the Destroyer. You saw a little commentary about that.
Oh, let me go back to that article. Let's see. This woman, there was an article, it was written by Michelle Walling, and it's on n5d.com, and it's /CERN and the War on Consciousness, and it's dashes in between every word. But in fact, let me. What I can do is share so you can see the picture of the doohickey too. So let me pull that up real quick.
Oh, you have a picture of the actual statue?
Yes.
Excellent.
I was going to pull a different one up, but then I thought, no, I can just show you the one that she's got in this article.
There you go.
So this is in front of CERN, and do you want me? I mean, I can hit the highlights on this, but it was like
sure. The part I was sort of interested in also was the story about the cloaked ritual that was observed and then quickly debunked.
Yeah, she says, why is Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction, placed outside the entrance to the Hadron Collider? Does Hadron have anything to do with Hades? That was on this one. And there's part of the collider. Okay, so then there was, which one is it?
Well, the Hadron Collider has been turned on 3 times. In 2022, it was turned on for the 3rd time. And one of the side effects of when they turn it on, is it tends to generate what they call microscopic black holes that, according to them, only exist rapidly and appear and disappear in microseconds. So they're saying it doesn't make any difference. How little we know about what a black hole actually does.
Yeah.
And what it actually is. Oh yeah, don't look at that. It's only going to live for a few short seconds. There are poisons that will kill you instantly that only take a couple of atoms. Don't look, it's teeny tiny. Black holes, don't look, it's only a microsecond. Yeah, not an exact analogy, but reason for caution about don't overlook powerful things just because they're tiny, you know,
Yeah.
such as your children. Such as your children. That's a good example. Do not overlook something that is powerful but tiny, and your pets, and so on. But Iris, did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, this is some things that I found in another article that talks about some of the strange. And what I did was I looked for articles. There's lots of things that we've heard over time,
Right.
and then it was like, okay, we go back to look for these things that we've heard and find some foundation in them. And so I found some articles that kind of grouped a lot of these things together. So in this particular one, it showed up on strangerdimensions.com and is from December 21st, 2019. And one of the strange of all the strange claims made about CERN, the idea that particle physicists in Geneva have actually opened a portal into another world is perhaps the most compelling one. Now he gives a quick history of it, and then in June of 2016, a series of incredible photos of the sky above CERN appeared online, and it's it's these big, tremendous storm clouds that are and it's round. And if you think about the CERN collider, it's a circle, and so it's like almost directly above where this collider would be, this big circle.
Because the collider is subterranean, you would have to, extrapolate
Yeah.
that. Right.
In response, some claims that in the Large Hadron Collider (LHC) had generated a portal above Geneva, towering dark clouds filled with lightning and a rainstorm underneath. This happened in 2016, and this is an actual radar picture of the clouds. That perfect circle.
Over Geneva.
And yeah, and it coincided with the emergency shutdown of LHC, which happened after a weasel hopped over a substation fence, bumped a transformer, and knocked out the power. And that is true. The weasel did hop the fence and was unfortunately electrocuted, eventually stuffed and put on display at the Rotterdam Natural History Museum in their Dead Animal Tales exhibition.
No, guys, there is no effing way a weasel can take a tiny weasel can take out a hadron collider just by bumping something.
Yeah.
No, don't buy it. But please continue. Sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah. A video appeared online that seemed to depict a ritual sacrifice on the CERN grounds. And I remember this video, and there's a link in this article to it, but I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. According to The Guardian, this was a hoax. And you can see there's in this picture, you've got the Shiva right there in the middle, and kind of to the left. Well, you can see there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in the 7 or 8 people in that photo.
That you can see.
When you look at the whole video, that you can see. When you look at the whole video, they get together in a circle. There's a woman there. And CERN, of course, launched an investigation to find out who was responsible. And their report came out that it was pranking scientists. They didn't have enough to do on the job, and so they were just playing a joke. Let's get out around this statue and pretend to sacrifice somebody. That makes sense.
Yeah, scientists do that a lot. One, that's the personality of a scientist. Yes, they are outside of the box. Two,
okay,
I'd like to refer to the black cloaked person that walked past the hallway door, the giant arches door, during King Charles's coronation last month.
Oh, yes.
These dark cloaked people are showing up at major events more and more frequently, but I digress. Please continue.
There was an Airbus that was above CERN in November 2009. An Airbus vanished. The plane was carrying 170 passengers and was headed toward Bolivia when it seemed to disappear mid-flight. Then it reappeared 5,500 miles away at the Canary Islands. Some believe that CERN,
which is outside of Spain, by the way.
Right. Yeah. And they believe that the collider may have been, given that it had just begun circulating beams the previous year and was preparing to do so again.
A test fire that may have gone awry.
Yeah, purveyors of the Airbus theory believe that it may have happened during these preparations. It accidentally produced some sort of time warp. They immediately shut everything down. The shutdown, they said officially that the shutdown was caused by a bird that dropped a bit of baguette, causing the magnets to heat up.
No, that's
Yeah.
not how it works. But anyway.
The so-called time warp that they believe was continued by LHC distorting the Earth's magnetic field, creating a time wave that reverberated through the planet's core. The wave passed through the gate of the sun, which is an ancient megalithic stone arch in Bolivia. It's believed by some to be a stargate. The time wave continued until it made contact with the Airbus, temporarily displacing it in time and space. According to the bizarre tale, all 170 passengers, along with the plane, spontaneously teleported 5,500 miles from Bolivia to the Canary Islands, and they were able to land safely, though confused. The quote-unquote...
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
In the United States, there is a patent on time travel. I have read it myself. It is in plain English with just a little bit of tech, but using sound and harmonics, they being humans and people of authority, they already know how to teleport by intention, on purpose, mechanically under control long before this. And there is a patent for it in the United States. And the patent even describes how he accidentally, the inventor, the holder of the patent, how he accidentally came across it. He observed it happening spontaneously under certain conditions and realized he could replicate those sound and lighting and timing and ley lined conditions, and it could be replicated over and over. So this is no mistake that, we didn't know that would happen. Baloney. There's actually patents for teleportation in existence and has been for years. Considering that technology advances every couple of months, it's way beyond the details and the control and the magnitude of it are way beyond what I just now described, which is information from several years ago. Please continue.
Okay, so the quote-unquote true story of the Airbus, or the excuse they gave, the plane was meant to fly from Madrid, Barajas, Spain to Santa Cruz, Bolivia, but somehow wound up in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, Canary Islands. The crew had gotten confused and went the wrong way.
5,500 miles difference. That is a shitload of airline gasoline, time, and payroll and scheduling.
To not know where you're going,
to not know where you're going would affect hundreds of thousands of dollars by ripple effect alone in losses and cost. Guess what, guys? They don't make 5,500 miles difference mistakes in airlines. No, that would put them out of business in one mistake. That's not how that works. So anyway, please, thank you. Please continue.
This picture here is a picture. You can see the small white circle in the bottom left corner is the current Hadron Collider circle.
Yeah. On the left. Yeah.
Right. There's a potential plan for a 62-mile collider, the future circular collider that would cost around $10 billion and would be absolutely gigantic. China is looking to create a 20-mile diameter collider, and Japan has also been talking about hosting one. So that just kind of compares the different sizes. And this article came out back in, like, what did I say?
15?
19.
19.
In 2019. Yeah. And so
where the hell are they going to put in Japan? Japan's crowded and tiny and rocky. And so, they would have to go sub-ocean. They would have to go below the water to do a Japanese one. But anyway, that magnitude.
Of course, we know that there's already structures underground.
There's tons
anyway.
there's tons of gigantic structures that could actually house that. And in fact, honestly, that might already exist for Japan and China. This is their way of slowly, gradually releasing that information and say, oh yeah, we just had that. This is new.
Rosemarie kind of takes us. She says, which is going into the next part of our discussion. She's heard that that's part of the reason why we're having so many Mandela effects. We're jumping in and out of different timelines. Ta-da! Thank you, Rosemary.
Good job, honey.
Yes. So, let's see.
So that's what sparked the topic for this show more than anything, was that we were seeing, incidentally, if you pay attention to alternative news reports, there's a lot of Mandela effect going on that's very, very recent. Not just Mandela. Since then, post then. So Iris, please continue.
Well, and there's this article came out of Vice.com, and it's is CERN causing Mandela effect by creating portals to alternate dimensions, and they're kind of investigating it. And there was a woman, Cynthia Sue Larson, that has been doing research and on the lookout. This article came out in July of 2022. And in July 5th, which was exactly a year ago, CERN turned on the collider for a third time. And as of a couple of weeks later, she's been paying attention to see whether reports of Mandela effects might increase since it had fired back up. She hadn't noticed anything, but there is a large and growing interest in the Mandela effect, and CERN has noticed.
You're making my nose itch. What I thought about, I mentioned to Iris, was an intuitive thing on this third firing of the hadron. And if it indeed does continue with the quantum effect / Mandela effect, people are going to start forgetting about masks. They're not going to think that 2020 existed the way you know it now. And people are going to forget what we know. And it never happened for them. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Yeah, all these shutdowns, all this vaccine scandal stuff, masks everywhere, all over the streets and on people's faces, trashing up. There should have been biohazard disposal trash can receptacles every freaking where in public, and nope, there was not one.
Instead, they were leaving mice hammocks everywhere.
Yeah, yes, they were. And you could wear a bandana, or you could crochet one, or you could wear a paper one, or you could wear a fire and police and emergency style one, and they were all perfectly acceptable. Yeah, and you could take it off. Walking into a restaurant, you had to wear it, but if you sat down, you could take it off. But if you needed to go to the bathroom and stood back up to walk to the bathroom, you had to put it back on again to walk past the other humans. But sitting down, the germs won't get you when you're sitting down.
Oh yeah, they must have helium or something in them because they float.
Yeah, remember that, because that's going to hit the Mandela effect too. People are going to forget. Oh yeah, you could wear a mask into a restaurant, sit down, take it off, and have to put it back on to stand up. And that was nationwide. But people are going to forget that because they fired it up in 2020 for the third time. Mark, take notes, guys. But anyway.
All right.
Please continue. Yeah.
Where am I? Which one? Yes. So, they talk about,
double stuffed Oreos versus double stuffed Oreos, right?
Yes. And so like the CERN people come back and say, doesn't mean CERN's going around changing your Oreos. There's high energy particle collisions happening in our atmosphere all the time. What CERN is doing is tiny in comparison. I can promise you we're not going around changing labels on your food. Their paper describes an empirically observable phenomenon that persisted across people with no clear explanation. Where things get difficult is when people suggest that CERN is cast as potentially causing that. A mix of conspiracy theorists, researchers like Larson, and regular people have been searching for an explanation for this collective cognitive dissonance and false memory for decades. There is an International Mandela Effect Conference, IMEC, that broadly studies the phenomenon and has held conferences in 2019 and 2020 for people who swear that Berenstain Bears were actually the Berenstain Bears. The Monopoly Man wore a monocle. He doesn't, never has. And there was a movie called Shazam that featured Sinbad as a genie. And of course, that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s, which he didn't, supposedly.
So, Rosemarie and Cheryl, type in if you remember Mandela surviving prison, whether or not you remember Sinbad ever being a genie in a movie for children, Sinbad the actor, and what was the other one that they mentioned here? Oh, whether or not the Monopoly Man, the little top hat guy, the little old guy with a mustache, whether or not he had glasses, a monocle, or no glasses at all on his little cartoon face in the game of Monopoly. I'd love to see what you ladies, and anyone else who's listening, feel free to type in what versions of those three things you remember.
And then there's Looney Tunes, Toons, versus Looney Tunes, Tunes.
Yes.
And I always remembered it Looney Tunes with two O's because it was cartoons, not music, But anyway.
Yeah. I remember I remember TUNS. Yeah.
Okay. And it says this woman, Cynthia Sue Larson, she says, I've had the great fortune to witness thousands of reality shifts and Mandela effects, including some that have flip-flopped, gone one way, then the other, which has led me to contemplate that as physicists Leonard Susskind and Raphael Bousseau, I don't know, suggested the world's interpretation and the multiverse of eternal inflation are one and the same thing. The thought among at least some is that CERN's Large Hadron Collider, which has helped us discover and verify an astounding amount of new or theorized information about subatomic particles, physics, and the nature of the universe, is somehow causing these reality shifts. The theory is particularly popular on TikTok, where supposedly a whistleblower account called CERN Opening Parallel Dimension has repeatedly gone viral, claiming to millions of people that, for example, the particle collider is changing the weather around the planet, or that CERN is opening parallel dimensions that cause the change in the climate. Dozens of other accounts with millions upon millions of views have posted conspiracy theories about how the Large Hadron Collider was set to open wormholes, portals, mirror dimensions, alternate dimensions, and so on and so forth. There's no actual evidence that CERN has anything to do with the Mandela effect, of course. But Larson and the board of directors of the Mandela Effect Conference are open to the theory that it's responsible for some. Neither believes it can explain it all. CERN has definitely been a major topic of discussion lately. Some of the Mandela effects were happening before LHC fired up, so it's not the only factor to consider.
True.
And then she says, in my opinion, some of the things being misremembered make more sense as to what they should have been. I can see how people remember the spelling of something in a certain way because it's more intuitive, such as the Berenstain versus the Berenstain. But I remember looking at the name one time and going, I just assumed it was Berenstain, and then I saw that it was Berenstain.
I was going to say, you and I are literary and visual and writing and analyzing hawks because that's what we did for a living for years as English teachers.
Yes.
We notice when something is not spelled right.
Yeah.
And yes, I noticed that jump as well. Absolutely.
And here it says, while the science CERN is doing is groundbreaking, they are simply recreating, quote, collisions that happen in our atmosphere all the time in a controlled environment. For billions of years, this has been happening in our universe.
That sounds like a gloss over job.
Yeah.
Now that,
And
oh no, yes, we've been dumping stuff into the water, into the rivers, into the oceans for thousands of years. This is nothing new. You guys don't need to worry about us dumping stuff into the ocean because it's always happened that way. So don't worry about it. Yeah, we all love that explanation.
well, what they in research, some volunteers, they were asked to identify famous logos or characters based on memories, and they showed them the real logo in a lineup of slightly manipulated images. For example, the Monopoly Man with and without a monocle, and then said, which one, how confident are you? Which one do you remember, and how confident are you in your memory? And so, for example, in these three, the first one, you've got CP30, which I never realized he had two different color legs. The Fruit of the Loom logo, Curious George without a tail, the Monopoly Man without a monocle, Pikachu with just a plain tail, and then the VW logo.
The horizontal slash in the middle.
Yeah. And then they manipulated the logos, and there were other two lines of different manipulations, and so then they mixed them up and said, okay, which ones do you think are real? So here's an example where they did the Apple logo. Did the bite face to the right, to the left, or was there ever a bite in there? And then how many times have you seen the logo? Are you familiar with it? How confident are you with it? And it demonstrates that people have a collective false memory of popular brands, logos, characters, etc. Here, they gave them the original logo and then took it away and said, now draw what we just showed you. And these are people's different drawings. So like the Where's Waldo character, several people drew him without a cane, several people drew him with a cane. C3PO, what I found interesting in this is that all the legs were the same. None of them had
Different legs.
Yeah. And then Curious George, a couple of them added a tail. Some of them didn't. The VW, some of them had the line in it, but some of them didn't. The Monopoly Man was interesting because there's some good drawers in there, but a couple of them had the monocle on them. And then Pikachu, yeah, and then Pikachu, some of them put the black tip on the tail, some of them didn't, and then Fruit of the Loom, some of them drew them with the cornucopia and some without. So it's interesting, but the thing I would dispel about that research, in my opinion, the way they did that research and having them draw.
Yeah.
My thing is, okay, you're showing people the logo, and we know in proofreading how hard it is to proofread stuff because you see what you expect to be there, not what's actually there. And so if people see the logo and replace it with their memory
of expectation,
who's to say that's not reinforcing the Mandela effect?
Yeah, they're not accounting for that natural variable.
Yeah,
that humans automatically do. We overgeneralize. So Cheryl remembers Sinbad being a genie, and she remembers the monocle on the Monopoly guy.
And Rosemary says she remembers the little guy had a monocle. I do too.
And I don't remember him ever not having it until much later in life. It started showing up in commercials without it. And Sinbad is a vague memory, but I remember watching his blue face, her talking. And when Will Smith came out as the next blue genie after Robin Williams died, I remember thinking, oh, isn't that interesting? Another Black comedian is now a big blue genie. Isn't that very Avatar looking as well? But I digress. But I remember thinking, he's kind of doing what Sinbad did for just a hot second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show. Yeah, Sinbad's version of the actor Sinbad never took off very far. That's from what I understand. Another interesting one, and guys, you can go look it up. And tell me real quick, if you can, real quick, is that there's a time delay. Like Iris said, it goes from one satellite to another website before it gets to us. But if you could answer this, ladies, do you remember Ed McMahon and Publishers Clearinghouse awards, going to doors or whatever? If you do remember that, put yes or no for Ed McMahon delivering those decades ago. And I think now they have Steve Harvey doing it. He's now their delivery guy. He's now their spokesman or what have you not. Do you remember a couple of years ago, he made a huge mistake and announced the wrong winner of the Miss America pageant? Do you remember that?
Yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be really embarrassing. He accidentally switched up, rabbit ears here, air quotes, switched up in second place with the runner-up and had to announce the switch and take the crown away from her. Talk about a publicity coup for both the pageant itself and for Steve Harvey. You would think all of his contracts would get canceled after a screw up like that. Nope. He started showing up on every kind of commercial and game show host you could think of. They even put him into Kids Say the Darndest Things. What an apt transition for a comedian on his path.
So both Rosemarie and Cheryl, right? Yeah, don't want to get.
Okay, both Rosemarie and Cheryl remember Ed McMahon and Clearinghouse. If you go Google or DuckDuckGo, however you search the internet, and type in Ed McMahon and Publishers Clearinghouse, if you type those in, you're going to see over and over, Clearinghouse says he never worked for us. He was never here. He never awarded Clearinghouse gigantic checks with balloons and flowers to knocking on your front door. That never happened. I looked it up right before the show just to make sure. Yes, the first 12 searches, and 3 of them said, this is a popular Mandela effect. People remember him, and there's no law in, but Publishers Clearinghouse says he never worked here. And then you go look at images, and you can see old picture after old picture of Ed McMahon awarding people giant checks that say $11 million or whatever. Yes. First time I heard it, I had the same reaction, Rosemary. No way. That's like Americana, major pop culture. Ed McMahon, he was Robin to Johnny Carson's Batman.
Yeah.
Two of them were salt and pepper.
I remember it being casually mentioned, like at the beginning, Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson talking about
during the Carson show when it was the season for him to be running. He's like, so have you delivered any good checks lately?
Yeah.
Any good-looking women come and answer? Any good-looking women come and answer the door? And Johnny would tap his papers and straighten his tie and all this other Dangerfield-looking stuff. And Ed McMahon, sitting over there to the left of the screen and moving over one chair.
We lost Margo, but she'll be back. We noticed she was having some issues with freezing and such. So we'll give her a minute to come back. But yeah, all that stuff with Ed McMahon, Rosemary, I'm right with you on the no way thing, because I specifically remember it. And then what was it, American Publishers? I think they kind of followed Publisher Clearinghouse, and they had things too.
Back again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I fell out of this timeline and had to bounce back. Had to dial in to come back. Either that or y'all caught up with me, one or the other.
Yeah, that's it.
Back in the loop, ladies.
Yes.
So you were saying?
Yeah, so I remember the Publishers Clearinghouse being really big, and then when the American Publishers, I think it was, or something like that, came after with their own little price thing, and it was like they were the copycat. But yeah, Publishers Clearinghouse was the thing.
Ed McMahon, baby. Everybody hoped Ed McMahon would show up on their doorstep with a bunch of balloons and an oversized check for millions of dollars every year for the rest of your life, and then your one or two of your of whoever you designated would also get it after the time of your death for the rest of their lives.
I wanted,
So
yeah, I wanted to point out too. It was something I didn't realize. The World Wide Web was born at CERN.
yes,
Uh,
yes,
um,
I skipped over that note in mine too.
Tim
Yeah,
Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web in '89 at CERN as a tool to allow scientists around the world to share data. The complex instruments developed for particle physics at CERN and other similar facilities have spawned numerous other uses, including PET scans, the most common tool, the PET scans used to diagnose cancers. CERN shares its knowledge openly.
no, it
I
does
mean,
not.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting. And then they talk about the budget for 2016 was 1.1 billion euros. But if what they say it comes down to is the cost equivalent of a cappuccino a year per European.
Anything to make one expenditure seem like such not a big deal. And remember, that was 2016. The expenditure it has now would probably be a cup of cappuccino for 2/3 of the world's population, including China. Still not a big deal. Now, also, how much was that cup of cappuccino? Is it $10 a pop? $20 a pop? Yeah, don't let them downplay you until you got numbers.
There was, and in this one, I don't understand if they said that CERN was lost power after a rodent chewed through electrical wiring in 2016. And that followed an unfortunate incident in 2009 when a bird dropped a bit of baguette onto electrical equipment and caused a power outage. How did they know that a bird dropped a piece of bread? Because if it looks like that would have gotten fried and they wouldn't have known. I mean, you'd
Yes.
had to, it just,
And one story says that a little weasel bumped into a piece of their equipment and messed it all up and made it crash.
yeah, well,
And
it
then
was
another.
well, no, actually, it said what it was one piece of well, it was a outside. It jumped a fence and hit the transformer outside. Now, if they're
Which fried it. Yeah.
if I had a multi-billion-dollar piece of scientific equipment, I think I'd have a better fence around the transformers and electrical connections.
You would make it much harder for anything to touch it if touching it would absolutely crash it during one of your $1.1 billion experiments.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
I mean, I used to live in a house that was divided into two apartments, and right outside my door was a power line that had a transformer on it. And after about the fourth time that I had to call that the transformer had been blown because it would explode and sparks would fly. And the first time it happened, I went out and asked the guy who was coming to repair it, and he said, "Damn squirrel got in there." And the next time he came, I yelled out the door, "Squirrel!" And the guy said, "Yep." You know, after the fourth squirrel got in, I called and I said, "Guys, you have got to do something about this damn squirrel trap. There's got to be something you can do about it." And they fixed it after that. But it was like, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yeah, the guys have been telling me every time it's damn squirrels. If they could do that in my little quirky apartment back in the 80s, don't tell me they can't find a way to keep animals from interfering with the electronic transfer. It's not like they're using regular power lines out there, you know."
Exactly. Did you also notice that one story says that the animal ran into it, bumped it, and got electrocuted? And another story says that the animal chewed through the cables.
Yeah.
Which story is it? And how come neither one of them makes sense for a $1.1 billion project?
You don't have all this expensive machinery underground, inside, all these highly paid scientists and all that stuff, just to have your local electrician go and, oh, you run some wire over here. We were showing butt crack the whole time. That just don't happen.
Here's your sign.
Yeah, exactly.
That ain't gonna happen. By the way, guys, in your own time when you're ready, go look up who else lives in Geneva, Switzerland.
Oh, yes, I was going to ask you to talk about that.
If you're not familiar with the name of this family, go look it up and your jaw will fall further and further in the floor the further down the rabbit hole you go when you look up the family name Rothschild. Rothchild. The Rothschilds. They are, I'll give you a little bit of a hint, they are descendants of the Rockefellers.
No, it's the other way around.
Nope. Oh, Rothschilds were first, and then they created the Rockefellers who came to the North America.
Yeah. Well, you said it a minute ago, it was backwards. That's what I was thinking. I thought the Rockefellers were descendants.
Rothschilds are first, and they are and Rockefellers are and Rothschilds are the ancestors of Rockefellers, who are the descendants of Rothschilds. And find out what kind of reputation the Rothschilds have and other variations of their name. I'll give you one variation, Soros, Soros. And
we did a show on one of the Rockefellers.
Yes, you did. Yeah, the medical one, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the pharmaceutical debacle that we live with now. And you also find out where do the truly rich and the truly famous, find out where they go vacation. It's not the Bahamas, it's not Hawaii, it's not the Canary Islands. Go find out where all these people have their summer home and their vacation homes.
Another thing is that's where they have the World Economic Forum every year.
And the reputation of that place is going in the tank as well as being fairly dark.
And there was also a huge story around a tunnel that goes from Geneva to Germany, I think, and going through the mountain and the stuff around that. If you look that up, that's really interesting. That's I can't remember all the details myself, but I know there's a lot of mystery.
The grand opening parade and celebration was
that was freakish, and we had some of that on one of our shows.
Yeah, it was satanic. And macabre, and it looked like Cirque du Soleil on massive downers being put on by half-naked zombies. It was
literally. I mean, we're not exaggerating on that one. It's crazy.
And
look
and
up
all the main dancers had things like goat heads and horns on their head the whole time. It was
bizarre, and the people that were there, very high. Because wasn't the Queen or now King Charles was there or something?
Royalty, royal family, prime ministers, all those royals and heads of state all over Europe went for a road tunnel opening between Germany and Switzerland.
Yeah.
Unless there was another reason.
Yeah. And then
Rosemary's familiar about that. Yeah.
Is that the headquarters for not the UN, but
it's
UNICEF?
The headquarters for everything. Guys, go look up what else is in Geneva. You're going to start drawing dots. Yes. I mean, there's things that have headquarters all over the world, but the main headquarters is in Switzerland, Geneva.
And what is interesting is how you always hear, like I grew up here in Switzerland. It's this wonderful place and peace and love and all this stuff. And then you
It
start
was
finding out this,
neutral during both world wars, so it was never damaged. It was never hurt, even though it's Switzerland, Germany, Italy, Russia, Poland, everybody. It's right in the middle.
but they didn't touch.
Geographically, never touched.
Never touched.
That tells you who owned both sides of the wars.
Mm-hmm.
Go look that up. Find out who supplied the Allies and the Axis in both cases. Find out.
Oh,
that's. And by the way, it was never Russia. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
There's just so much, and there's even more on CERN that we found other articles that talk more about the history. They compare the Hadron Collider to the last season of Stranger Things, or the most, I don't know if they're doing any more Stranger Things or if that was the last season, but the one where the main character 11 takes character 1, because they were named by numbers for experimental purposes, and they create this big explosion stuff. And Deborah says it tells you how powerful their army knives are.
Deborah, do you remember Ed McMahon? Give us a yes or no. Do you remember Ed McMahon in Publishers Clearinghouse?
Well, and that's what's crazy, because I remember talking to people about one day Ed McMahon's going to come to my door. You would just say that instead of Publishers Clearinghouse. You'd say Ed McMahon, waiting on Ed McMahon to come in my house. Like waiting to win the lottery. It was just
that was like a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah, banter. Absolutely.
So, absolutely. But there's a lot of history too. One of the theories, and this is out there for some of y'all, but just to kind of highlight, one of the theories is that if you believe in the Dracos, the lizard people stuff,
reptilians,
that after they came and invaded, this was like 54 BC, that the Earth, Gaia,
shifted
her axis,
mm-hmm.
and that's recorded. That they know that happened. But the theory is that the reason it did it was to lock in the evil that had arrived and keep more from coming in, and it wouldn't let the others leave, because they lost the grid alignment, the geomagnetic grid alignment all across the globe was now off. And so that helped them from teleporting, and that kind of stuff. It stopped their technology. They couldn't use their teleporting technology anymore. And by the way, Deborah says yes, Ed was the spokesman. Yes. Okay. So since then, it's been the battle of control of Earth and all that stuff, and that this collider is like that last ditch effort to reopen those connections that they needed to take over the world. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. And for those of you that are aware of all this good information, I want to kind of help wrap up on a positive note. Yeah. The same groups that talk about what all this, the CERN and the Hadron, the CERN organization and the Hadron Collider and all of their apparently nefarious activities, it's interesting to note that the opposite faction that are considered the good guys are in theory in control of CERN and the Hadron Collider now. So as much havoc as it could have been wrought or wreaked on us, whatever English word we're going to use there, that situation has already been put further under control of
the good guys, so to speak. And same thing, go on like rumble.com and you can learn a whole lot about all those topics from alternative media and or alternative researchers. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So with next week. Yeah, we've got coming up next week is a best of. I'm pulling the top 5 based on the YouTube statistics and putting together a show because both Margot and I are going to be going in different. I'm going to be in Canada. Margot's got wedding stuff going on. So we're pulling a best of, but as I'm pulling this, I'm finding it fascinating because it's interesting for me to go back and see some of this stuff and go, wow, I forgot we talked about that. So I think y'all will enjoy the snippets that I'm pulling together for the show next week, and it'll air at this time. And then the 19th, we're back with psychic readings, and on the 26th, we're going to talk about Bilderberg. So, yay!
For sure.
Yeah,
so
but
guys, if anyone's curious, when Iris says I'm going to go do wedding stuff, she's not talking about me. I'm not getting married. Nobody I know personally is getting married. I'm a wedding photographer. So if anybody has a need for wedding services, officiating, or wedding services, or beach family photos, I'm your girl. I'm a photographer right here.
Yeah.
Go check me out on Facebook, Beach People Weddings.
And she's also a wedding officiant. Her husband does officiating, and they have like wedding packages. I love the fact that you've been talking more about, people will pay tens of thousands of dollars for their wedding, and they'll do your whole ceremony.
And then some.
And then some, including the photography, for
unlimited lifetime sharing and printing included for under $1,000. Literally, if you choose North Myrtle Beach, Ocean Isle Beach, or Sunset Beach, which are all gorgeous beaches that have no permits, you can use them for free. You literally $935 flat out the door. That's our Cadillac top of the line, all the extras, boots and whistles included. Yes, $935. But our smallest package with photography is about $550. So you got range. You got range in there. If you need us for just officiating, $300. Your active military, fire, police, knock $50 off of that because we love you and we appreciate those that are putting their lives and their daily lives and their physical lives in the path of danger to protect and save the rest of us. Namaste.
And if you want to see her photography and all, go to the website beachpeopleweddings.com
or our Facebook page, and you can see what I did last week.
Yeah.
And the month before. And you can see some really cool stuff too. But thank you. And mutual information. If you're interested in more about what Iris offers, which is like an encyclopedia of good services, holy cow, anywhere from finding your soul to finding a job to finding yourself. Finding yourself, find your dog that's gone because of the fireworks yesterday. Everything in between. iriscarter.com.
Find your soul, find your job. If your last job took your soul, we'll get it back and find you a better job.
High five. Ring the bells out. Yo. There's a huge plethora at Iris Carter Enterprises, and this podcast is just one. She is the producer as well as the co-host. And we appreciate you, Iris. Namaste.
Thank you. We appreciate you too, and appreciate the audience. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
We'll come see the show next week. I think it'll be even more enlightening. So yeah, good stuff.
Be the change you want to see, guys. Namaste. Bye.
Thank you for joining the Eyes of Indigo with Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Music is Arcadia by Kevin MacLeod. Find us at facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo, on YouTube under @Iris Carter Enterprises, and on various podcast aggregators. Copyright